guys, it's Isha the journalist, and we're here for Cranium Conference and Showcase 2025, and I'm here with New York's own Scram Jones. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Yes.
Tired, but happy to be here.
Lovely. We're happy to have you as well. So we're just gonna get into the nitty-gritty of like how you started your career and stuff like that. So can you bring us or jog your memory a little bit and tell us when was the first time you fell in love with DJing?
With DJing, I was always a hip hop collector. You know, I used to collect. I'm gonna sound old, but I used to collect cassettes. Then I collected CDs, and then I realized the DJs had all the new stuff. So I actually got into DJing to get exclusive stuff. Like I used to battle friends in middle school and high school with who had the newest mixtapes. But then I realized the DJs had all the records first. You know, they were the ones putting it on the mixtape. So I started DJing for that. So that was probably the mixtape DJs, and of course watching like Kid Capri on Def Comedy Jam or Jam Master Jay, or, you know. And but once I got a pair of tables, I just realized that I just wanted to play with. They were toys, you know. It wasn't about collecting. It was about, you know, using them as instruments.
Awesome. Who were some of like your biggest influences when you started out?
Probably like Pete Rock, DJ Premier, people that were producers and DJs.
Yeah.
So, you know, I fell in love with their music, but I realized that they weren't just making the beats, they were doing the choruses with the scratching. And I just loved, like, I wanted to do that too. I wanted to do both.
Okay, awesome. And was there like a specific moment, or can you recall the specific moment when you knew like this is what I'm gonna do for like the rest of my life?
Probably when, you know, in the high school when they said, what do you want to do? And I was like, shit, I'm already, because I started DJing in 10th grade. And and so every day after school, you know, I had friends come over, I practiced, I was, you know, people freestyling, I got a 4-track, made demos, and I realized that actually could be a profession, whether it was music production or anything with music. So yeah, that's it. But I knew from the beginning, like I was a total, I was obsessed with just collecting music, all music, but mostly hip hop.
Did you ever have anybody like in your close surroundings telling you like, oh, like this is not a real job, or like, you know, trying to tell you?
No, because I don't think I knew. I also didn't think it was a real job until I realized that I could actually go to college and study audio production. And I could, I knew, you know, I could get DJ gigs, but I didn't think that was a profession, like, you know, to raise a family off, let's say. But I realized the evolution of DJing is production. And we used to freestyle over instrumentals, and I used to always say, oh, I would love to make our own beats. And that's how it turned into, once I graduated high school, I started, you know, making beats and stuff. So it was an easy evolution.
Okay, I love that. Thank you. How do you approach building a set, and do you play to the crowd or do you create the mood yourself?
I definitely play to the crowd, but I do it my own way, so I'll see what they gravitate towards. But then if I have to go in a certain bag, whatever genre it is, I will try to do it creatively or put my own touch on it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna just play records that I like and everyone, you know, not look up. So, you know, you test with genres, and when you see them going crazy over a certain genre, a certain sound, you know, you try to stay in there, and then you could try to do some slick stuff too within that world. You know.
What is your favorite like type of genre to play?
I guess you could say hip hop. Like old school hip hop is the funnest because you get to scratch the most. Like it's the right tempo to like get busy manually. You know. But then it's like if I do EDM, I might get the biggest reaction of people dancing, and that's a whole energy exchange that you love. And then of course I love Afro beats right now. I love reggae. I love R&B. So, you know, R&B, you can have them singing along. So I like when I'm able to do everything. But definitely, the nerd in me would say like old school hip hop. Yeah.
Afro beats is actually really popping in Canada right now. Is that something? Is that a genre that is like?
Yeah. No, it's
popping
taking.
in the
I think it's
States
taking
too?
over
The
the world. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, it's just a great vibe, and now it's about to be summer, and that's like such a tropical vibe, you know. So it's gonna, definitely gonna be spinning that.
Love that. Okay, perfect. You've produced some heavy hitters. Sorry. What makes a great MC to you?
A great MC could paint a picture. You know what I mean? Could you know, and have their own identity, and be clever. You know, I just like people that have their own style, that their references or their slang, whatever, is very unique, and but at the same time, write good songs, not just write raps.
Yeah.
Have concepts. That's what I think.
Okay, perfect. Take some notes, guys. Do you approach DJing differently from producing, or how do you feed the two? How do you feed to each other in your creative process, if that makes sense?
Well, DJing, you kind of have to be a chameleon in a sense. Like whatever room you step in, it could be, like you say, a different vibe in that. Producing, you also want to be a chameleon, but it's on your own time. So it's like I don't have an outside. I mean, I shouldn't say that. If you have an artist with you, then you work towards them. But when you're alone, you could be experimental. It's more like a personal thing. Beat making is more of a personal thing. Okay. Producing is a collaborative thing. Production, I don't know. You try to be unique and go into your own little world. But when you're DJing, you have to involve other people in your world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like two different experiences for sure. Okay, fair enough. And as someone who's mastered multiple crafts like DJ and producing, and which one do you feel most at home in?
DJing is the funnest, but producing is the most rewarding. You know what I mean? Producing, you're like creating something that's going to be left, you know what I mean, for people to hear. Mm-hmm. But DJing is just so much fun to me. When I get to be in my element, like I could just, people will hire me to do like an hour, and I'll wind up doing like 2.5. Yeah. Like they gotta rip me off. Like I'm not the Hollywood DJ. If people are vibing, I'm in my world. I'm enjoying it. Production, I love too. But sometimes you could be sitting there in the studio, like scratching your head. Also, you have moments, or you might be struggling with like technical stuff. Mixing isn't always fun. When you're sitting there trying to mix everything, like it's annoying. Like I like to stay in the creative space. So, DJing, I started, like I said, I started from scratch. I started from DJing, so that's my baby in a sense.
Period. Perfect. So, let's dive into culture and community. What role do you think DJs play in preserving hip-hop culture today? Preserving hip-hop culture?
Just putting on the new generations of the old records, like having an outlet for them to, for older generations to get put onto the old stuff and that old energy. We're kind of teachers in a sense, Mm-hmm. And at the same time, with all new technology, kids are just pressing buttons and everything is just kind of auto done. So when some of the DJs from our era step up, we get to show more of a manual, using it as an instrument. And like I said, it's not as necessary to today's music, but it still shows the art form that's actually dying right now. So we, keep it alive with just showing how creative you could be. You know what I mean?
Right. What do you think is like one thing they should keep in mind at all times in terms of like DJing?
I just think all DJs need to know multiple genres. I think they need to be a historian and be a collector and love all music, not just one genre, and use technology, but use it to your advantage. Like, still, if you're gonna, the thing is nowadays you could produce a set, not just spin a set. So you could make an acapella on the fly, make an instrumental. So use that and be creative. You know what I mean? Like now you could actually remix things on the spot. So if that's if that's for the new generation, then just be creative. Don't just play the records and think you're cool.
Yeah. Okay. Period.
Yeah.
Awesome. What city outside of New York has surprised you with its hip hop energy or community?
Well, when I tour the world, like it's amazing. I just actually did a tour with Ghostface from Wu-Tang, and we did like 16 cities in all over Europe, and it was just incredible to see like how what a following the Wu-Tang still has in 2025, and like kids were coming on stage knowing the words from '93, like teenagers and 20-year-olds, and they would come with their parents. And it was just like a cult following, and I just that felt good. Like I felt like I was in a time capsule, but at the same time I was like, wow, they still love it out here,
Yeah.
So that let me know, and then when I go to Japan, they're like so engulfed with the culture.
Yeah, the hip hop community
and
over
even,
there.
In Canada, of course. I mean, some of the dopest DJs are from Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah, those.
Who are some of your favorite DJs? Aside from yourself, I
Yeah,
bet.
no. I mean, what's funny, you say Canada, like I like Scratch Bastards, my boy. He's a beast. You know, DJ Newmark. Those guys. I like people that are creative and you know, like I say, get creative with mixing genres and ideas like that. My man DJ Ease, I know he was here last night. He's a monster.
He's awesome.
Yeah, so guys like that always keep me on my toes. And but then you know, going back, like I say, the originators like a Kid Capri or someone like that that just commands the crowd with the microphone, and Jazzy Jeff, who still is, you know, top of the mountain right now. 40 years later, he's still, you know, running a whole circuit himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about your love for vinyl. So are there any vinyl records that changed your life, either musically or emotionally?
Wow. I mean, I'll be honest, I have a huge stash of vinyl, but I'm not like some of these guys that, like, I'll either get vinyl to sample off of nowadays, but I have a huge stash of vinyl growing up, and I still have like crates and crates in my house. Ironically, my intro to hip hop when I was a little kid, I had 3 vinyls. I'll tell you a backstory. My dad used to work for Pepsi, right? And
so cool.
Pepsi, yeah, right. So we went to like he invited me to like a family. They had like a family day or something, picnic day for the Pepsi workers. And I went there, and there was breakdancers there, and they were breakdancing. And I was like 7 years old, and I said, I want breakdancer music, you know. And I didn't know it was hip hop music. I called it breakdancer music. So my pops got me my first vinyls. Basically, was Breaking, the soundtrack from the movie. Something called Electric Breakdance, which had a variety of old school records, and Michael Jackson, the Thriller.
Okay.
So those 3 right there, I played on my I had a Fisher Price turntable. You know, this is old. I'm 80. This is 80s. You know what I mean? So I'm showing my age. But those vinyls, I couldn't tell you how much I played them, and like that was my intro to hip hop. That was my intro to vinyl. You know what I mean? And so I'll say those.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
I can definitely appreciate that as a young person.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yep.
Do you still dig for records today? Okay. Do you,
Not as much as I would like to, but I've kind of, you know, I'm making a lot of original music now. I still like to sample, but we're in a digital world. So as much as like the true schoolers hate to hear that, and like if I'm with some crate diggers, if we're overseas and they're going to check records, I'll go listen and try to find samples. I'm not paying $100 a record. I'm not, you know, you know.
That's true.
But, you know, shout to Alchemist, shout to Pete Rock, and these guys like that. They'll find like a basement in Russia, you know, find some old folk music, and it'll be like the hottest hip hop record that you ever heard. So, you know, I appreciate crate digging, but yeah, but otherwise I'm just using digital stuff.
This was Isha the journalist with Scram Jones for Cranium Conference and Showcase 2025. Love. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. That was great.